Hi guys, this is Andy from Andy's Travel Review blog, and I'm here to talk about my Amtrak series, both part one, part two, and finally part three, and I'm so excited to share with you guys. To begin describing my misadventure on the Amtrak for the first time, I feel it's really important to kind of go over what made me choose Amtrak. My friend and me and my sister, we live in the Chicago area, so we were going to be traveling from Union Station to Minneapolis. That is near where Mall of America is. So that was our end goal to get there. Mind you, my sister, me, and my friend, we are all childcare workers. And this was the year, I would say 2019, May of 2019. And we were not very well off. And so we had to make choices on how we were going to get there, but cheaply because we didn't have a lot of money to begin with. We did save money with weeks before we were planning this. As we were planning this, we saved money. So that was helpful. We bought the Amtrak tickets and we each paid for our own ticket uh, that we did together. So when we got to Union Station, were we had a little extra time, so we did find some place to eat. Which, if you ever eaten at Union Station, there's a lot. The food is pricey, so just keep that in mind. So if you pack a little snack, maybe or a little meal with you, that would be awesome too. If you're trying to kill some time. Also, we didn't quite know where we were supposed to go because we couldn't find where we were supposed to go on our ticket because it told us to go out into the street. And we're like, that's weird. We're taking a train. But we time is crunching, and so we get to our spot out on the street, and we found out we were taking the bus to Mall of America, which hindsight is 2020. I wish we had looked up our ticket more to see and to have known beforehand that we were taking a bus. Because let me tell you, in the Midwest, spring is kind of spring, it's kind of cold like winter, it can be warm and hot like summer. It's a mishmash of weather that can happen. And we weren't prepared at all for it. I don't even think we had sweaters, which we've lived in this area for a long time. So you would think we would have sweaters. I don't think we did. So we got onto the bus and it was completely empty. So we're like, ooh, this one might be a fun. It's about a 10-hour bus ride. And so we got on, sat down, and the seats were okay. I wouldn't say they're the most comfy, but it was doable. We were traveling at night because we wanted to be able to get to Mall America in the morning and have extra time there since we were only going to be there for Saturday, Sunday, and we were coming home Monday. So in that time, we were excited. We had earbuds, listening to music. And as the bus moved around the city, it picked up a lot more people. So the bus actually ended up being completely full. But the most important part of this story, the most important part of the misadventure we had was it was freezing. I'm not sure if the bus driver thought that having a lot of air circulation is helpful, and maybe that because there's so many bodies in the bus that it might have like made it hot. I was freezing. My friend was freezing. My sister was freezing. It was the most uncomfortable 10 hours on a bus, frozen like a popsicle. And we were traveling at night, so you would think that we would be able to sleep. And people do sleep better cold, is what I've heard. But it was just so uncomfortable that I wasn't really able to sleep over our journey there. So my misadventure was definitely not knowing what and how we were going to get there. So, like I said, think really closely about how you're getting places and double check your tickets. So, despite the misadventure the first time we took the Amtrak, I was still really pleased with our overall journey, and the train coming back from all of America during that misadventure we had on Amtrak was very comfortable. And I definitely would continue using Amtrak in the future, which I did, which brings me next to what we learned from our first Amtrak experience. One of the things that we had learned is that we should buy business class tickets. Now, they're not as expensive as you would think, and it is worth it. I am have short legs, so for me, I don't need extra space for my feet. But my sister, who I travel often with, has really long legs, so she really appreciates having business class because it allows her to have space comfortably. So a lot of times, my sister and I use Amtrak to go visit my brother. He lives in Mattoon, Illinois, and that is about 4 hours away from Union Station. So when we bought these business class tickets, we knew that it would give us space and a nicer part of the train to sit in. When we got to Union Station, we were surprised that they actually have a business class lounge for Amtrak travelers. And let me tell you, it is very worth it, especially if you are going to be staying at Union Station for a little bit, maybe got early to your train and you have some time to kill. I highly recommend buying business class so you can sit in the business lounge. The photos in here show the snacks, the drinks available. The other photo shows the seating. It was very comfortable, very cozy. We were traveling during the holidays, and surprisingly, it was very quiet at the time we were leaving, which was about, I think our train was leaving at 7. So in the morning. So it was very nice. And the people who are at the front desk before you can enter the business lounge was very kind. And they do check your ticket to make sure that you have bought business class because this is only for business class passengers. I highly recommend it. And the overall train ride was very comfortable. And as I always kind of mention, is that Amtrak trains are known to be late. They are not the best at being on time. So when you are expecting your train, if it's not there with at the time, expect it to be late. I've actually waited at the Mattoon station for Amtrak train. I went 35 minutes later than it said it would be when it was arriving. So keep that in mind when you travel Amtrak, but still, it's a great travel option. For my last installment of my Amtrak series, I'm just going to summarize the things that I suggest you do and things I maybe advise you not to do when you travel by Amtrak. Let me just say, first off, that I really enjoy traveling by Amtrak. And I highly recommend traveling by Amtrak for people who don't like to drive long distance or if it and double check that it could be cheaper than a flight. However, I personally would not want to ride on the Amtrak longer than 15 hours. Me and my friend had planned to go to New York City, and let me remind you, we're childcare workers, so we have not a lot of funds to work with. So we were considering taking an Amtrak train from Union Station to um, to New York City. However, that ended up being like a 23-hour train ride, I believe is what it was. And that was very ridiculous. We, as teachers, could not take off that much time. We were going during Labor Day weekend, which again, we were traveling there very early Saturday morning. And then we were leaving very early Monday morning since the school was closed because of Labor Day. So if you're traveling longer than 15 hours, I would definitely say maybe look at flights first. If you have time, then traveling by train does sound like a good idea. I personally saw in Union Station that they were moving passengers on their way to LA, so they were calling for their train. And so I can't imagine being on the train that long. But if you really like to have a scenic view, take your time, not deal with the craziness that can sometimes happen when you're flying, then maybe you should look at that option as well. Also, something that I learned is to double check your ticket. Make sure you know what you're taking when you travel by Amtrak, because surprise, they use buses. Also, maybe plan for the weather. In the Midwest, that our weather can be all sorts of kinds of crazy. We can have four seasons all in one day. So always just try to plan for the weather, even if it's just bringing a light sweater with you, because it's better than nothing. I also recommend taking like activities for you to do. I'm a student right now, so if I were traveling by Amtrak, I would definitely be taking my laptop with me. They do offer internet Wi-Fi services, so definitely that's something you could think about using. I also, in the image, I bought a coloring book and I brought colored pencils. And they have a tray that's the seat in front of you. It has a tray that can come down and you can put things on there. It is not very big. So if you have like a laptop that's a little bit bigger, it might not fit, but it was pretty stable. And I really appreciated having that tray so I could do something to kind of pass the time since I was traveling to Mattoon. From Union Station to Mattoon, Illinois, there's nothing really to see except cornfields and windmills. So I was really prepared this time to have some things to do while I was on the train. I just paused right now because my dog just barked unexpectedly and it scared me just a tiny bit. So I apologize. Um, but I was discussing about packing activities. Also, snacks are always a good idea, water bottles or beverages of your choice. I will say that the Amtrak does have a small area where you can walk to get snacks that they have microwavable meals. They also have soda and other beverages, and it's a very neat place to just kind of go and get something to eat if you didn't pack things. So I just recommend packing things, kind of save the money when you can. Another thing I would say is that suitcases, travel kind, the small traveling kind, it's like could be a little bit bigger than a carry-on, like you would bring on the airplane. But I would say that a backpack, a full backpack, would fit comfortably under the seat that's in front of you. I felt like I had a lot of space, especially when I was riding business class. There's a lot of space for it. Um, and I think that I will end it saying that I hope you learn from my Amtrak experience. Maybe you had a nice chuckle, or maybe you found something you connected with me. I would love to answer any questions you have. So please leave a comment and let me know your thoughts or questions. Or do you have any crazy experiences traveling by train, specifically the Amtrak? I really had a great time talking with you guys. So until next time, friends.